I am homeschooled, and I am 11 years old, and I am in 6th grade.
I'm homeschooled the same, and I am almost 9 years old, and I'm in 4th grade.
I'm homeschooled as well.
Daddy.
I'm a little older than that. We began to sense God's call in our lives soon after the Paris bombings. They were terrorist bombings, and through a series of events that the Lord just put out there, essentially my heart was just completely changed. I went from thinking, we shouldn't have refugees coming to the U.S. from the Middle East, because from my perspective at the time, I just didn't think there was a way that we could vet them correctly and keep our country safe. And what the Lord revealed to me is that my heart had become hardened, and was just reminded constantly about Jesus' 2 commandments to us, to love the Lord our God and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And so if Jesus' neighbor were the Samaritans, then how could I say that anybody from around the world was not my neighbor as well?
In January, when the Mount did their 21 days of prayer and fasting, the Lord just put it on our hearts to not just abstain from, for me it was Facebook and things like that, and for Barron it was movies, and we wanted to fill that time with intentional prayer for each other and just prayer for guidance. And at that time, Barron's work schedule was really crazy, and he had a big burden on his shoulder, and you just felt like the Lord was doing amazing things, big things. And so we just started praying for guidance and direction, and what he revealed in that is that he was calling us to something bigger than ourselves. And
it was early February by the time that we really started to see that the Lord was just changing our desires. I had already been speaking with several of the pastors on staff. They had an idea of what was happening in our hearts, and so getting them involved was extremely important. So it didn't take long for us to recognize that since the Lord had given us a heart for refugees, that the place to go would be Berlin, Germany. And part of the reason for that is because we already knew 2 families who were on the ground in Berlin, Germany, that are doing ministry and outreach to the refugees there. These refugees come from all over the world. It's incredible. Mostly from the Middle East, and especially in Berlin, it's mostly Syrian refugees, but also from Northern Africa as well. I mean, just people from all over. And what the Lord has really started to reveal to us is when you look at what the Lord has been doing from a missional standpoint, ever since Genesis 12, telling Abram, hey, you're to be a blessing to all nations. And then you see this repeated throughout the Old Testament in Isaiah and Psalms. So once you get to the New Testament with Jesus, when he gives the Great Commission in Matthew 28 and says, go and make disciples of all nations, it makes complete sense. And even to his disciples at the time, they understood what that meant, because they understood that God had been a missional God since the very beginning, that this blessing wasn't to only go to the Israelite nation, but when you look at Revelation 7:9, you see pretty quickly that what this is going to look like in heaven is to have every single tongue, tribe, and nation represented in heaven. And so until we've been about the Lord's business, to go and bring every single nation, a people from every single nation, our work is not done as Christ followers.